Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down the incredible story of human population growth. We're looking at where we've been, where we are right now, and where we're headed. And let me tell you, it's a story of absolutely explosive change. Okay, let's just jump right in with one single powerful number. 3, as in 3 times. The world's population today is more than 3 times larger than it was back in the mid-20th century. That's a mind-blowing increase in just a single lifetime. Now, what's so fascinating here is that this one chart is telling 2 completely different stories. You see the blue line, right? That's the total population, and it's just climbing and climbing. But then look at the orange line. That's the growth rate. That peaked decades ago and has been dropping ever since. So the real story isn't just about growth, it's about the changing speed of that growth. All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at that explosion of growth. Then the great slowdown that's happening now. We'll dive into the world of contrasts this creates, pinpoint the new population centers, and finally, look ahead to what our world might look like in 2050. Okay, first up, the population explosion. We're talking about a population boom that basically defined the modern era. For most of human history, our numbers grew so slowly, and then, well, everything changed. And this timeline just shows you the sheer speed of it. Think about this. It took all of human history, thousands and thousands of years, to get to 2.5 billion people by 1950. But then it took only 37 years to add another 2.5 billion. That incredible acceleration is really the defining feature of our recent past. But, every story has a second act. And for this explosive growth, it's the great slowdown. It's like the rocket ship is still climbing, for sure, but the engines are definitely throttling back. This quote right here, it pinpoints the exact moment we hit peak speed. The fastest growth ever wasn't recent. It was way back in the mid-1960s. That was the moment of maximum acceleration. Everything since then has been a story of hitting the brakes. And here's the result of that long, slow deceleration. In 2020, we crossed a huge threshold. For the first time in 70 years, the global growth rate fell below 1%. And that right there fundamentally changes the path we're on for the rest of this century. So let's see how this plays out. Because this global slowdown, it's not happening everywhere at the same speed, not even close. Underneath that one big global trend, there are dozens of totally different stories unfolding. To really get these contrasts, we have to talk about demographics. It sounds complicated, but all it means is studying the population data for different groups and different places. Because when we zoom in from that big global picture, that's where the really dramatic stuff is happening. Okay, take a look at this. Just a couple of years ago, in 2022, sub-Saharan Africa and the combined region of Europe and North America had populations that were, well, remarkably similar. Both were sitting at just over 1.1 billion people. But now, look at the projection for 2050. It's a completely different picture. Sub-Saharan Africa's population is expected to nearly double, blowing past 2 billion. And Europe and North America, almost no change at all. It's basically static. And the reason for this huge split is that these 2 regions are on completely different tracks. Sub-Saharan Africa is set to be the engine of the world's population growth going forward. Meanwhile, Europe and North America are actually projected to see their populations peak and then start to decline in the next decade or so. So these diverging paths are causing a massive, monumental shift in where the world's population is centered. We are literally watching a geographic rebalancing of the human species on a scale we haven't seen for centuries. And here is maybe the biggest sign of that change. This is truly historic. For as long as anyone's been keeping modern records, one country has always held the title of the world's most populous. Well, in 2023, that changed. And there it is. India is projected to surpass China. This isn't just a fun fact. This transition is the single clearest symbol of this great global reshuffling we're talking about. It's a fundamental change in the world's demographic order. And looking ahead, this shift is way bigger than just India and China. Get this, more than half of all the population growth from now to 2050 will be concentrated in just these 8 countries. Many of them are in Africa and Asia. These are the new epicenters of human growth. All right, so let's zoom back out. What does all of this mean for the world we're going to be living in by the middle of this century? What does the whole picture look like?
While even with that slowing growth rate, our total number is still climbing. We're projected to hit 8.5 billion around 2030 and then get really close to 10 billion by 2050. We are still on track to add nearly 2 billion more people to our planet.
Now, it's really important to remember what these numbers are. A projection isn't a prophecy. It's not set in stone. It's a powerful, data-driven estimate, a super-educated guess, really, based on current trends like birth rates and life expectancy, and then extending those patterns into the future. And the detailed data behind all of this is what allows us to see the bigger picture. It shows us other key parts of this global shift. For example, it tells us that Central and Southern Asia is on track to become the world's most populous region overall by 2037. So when you put it all together, the story isn't just about more people. It's about a fundamental change in who we are and where we live as a species. The centers of gravity, demographic, economic, you name it, they're all in motion. And that leaves us with a final, massive question. This great reshuffling is happening right now. The human map is being redrawn before our very eyes. And the biggest question for all of us is, how is that going to change everything else?